So we're here. Yeah, we're not allowed to film in.
We're going to go down an alleyway to the Temple Gardens, which is where all the barristers hang out. And it's down there, over there, look. Someone's incredible office.
Tell me, how did the research for this project go?
So, I've been making work, or looking at work about finance, and I started to read around things like high-frequency trading, which is where people trade using algorithms. It kind of got me thinking about the culpability of an algorithm and their capacity to modify their own behaviour. The idea that these algorithms can start to make their own decisions. What I noticed was the discrepancy between the way philosophers thought about these ideas. Like, I spoke to scientists who work in like evolutionary algorithms, and they were almost like polar opposites. One side would be like very open to this idea of artificial intelligence, and the other side would be kind of like, oh, we're nowhere near that. And so I was thinking about how I would put an algorithm on trial, and I got in touch with lawyers, basically, asked them to write the prosecution and defence speeches. Firstly, trying to come up with a scenario that actually had some kind of, like, that actually could exist nowadays. Where actually is that happening? In the scenario that I wrote, a debt company buy the student loan book and they write an algorithm, or they get a coder to write an algorithm that surfs the internet and finds all the students that look like they're going to default, and they find that from the data that's available, right? And when this algorithm finds that, it then basically takes job adverts and it places them on the pages that they frequent. The interesting thing is that the algorithm has no kind of discrepancy or no moral understanding of right and wrong. So it's just finding any job advert. It doesn't matter how kind of indecent or exploitative that job might be.
Yeah.
And that's where obviously 5 people partake in an unregulated medical trial and they die. Can the algorithm be culpable? Surely it's the coder, surely it's the company that got them, But then at the same time, if these algorithms are starting to make choices, I mean, that's the question. And the whole idea of the artwork is to give people the opportunity to kind of muse over something that on one hand is obviously quite funny and absurd, but on another level, we are on the cusp of something, I think.
I had a question about the name of the algorithm. So it's called Superdebthunterbot. Superdebthunterbot. Is it really referring to robotics as a kind of entity outside of the digital as well?
I just grabbed that name because, like, when quants talk about, they call them bots. The fact that the algorithm is everywhere but doesn't have a face, would we be more amenable to the idea of another entity, an artificial intelligence, if it has a face, to visualise these abstract concepts around finance or around big data, because they are so abstract. They're quite hard to depict. Yeah. My work is always kind of political. It always does have quite a kind of political basis for it. Yeah. Whether or not, sometimes critique, sometimes it's more ambiguous, and for me it's always about like kind of giving people the opportunity to kind of ask questions themselves, because that's how I feel that people make decisions, basically. Yeah. But the question that I've got at the moment, I think, is about the depiction of things that are like finance, or big data. A lot of artists have made work about it, and they've kind of reiterated the use of like graphs or, using an algorithm to make the work. And sometimes I think I'm trying to understand whether that kind of mimetic approach is useful in terms of a critique. I'm trying to kind of grapple with And I suppose the best way to kind of ask questions, really.
Yeah.
Does that make any sense?
That's great. Bye.